I've not really had the chance to talk about this with anyone, but I wanted to have a bit of a moan, so I hope you don't mind. So it doesn't really matter if you do or you don't, does it? So I'm going to have a bit of a moan anyway. So it started about 9 months ago. I've been asking Charlie to take me up the West End so I could get all dressed up for the first time in months, but he could never be bothered. "We've got the Crown just round the corner," he used to say. "It's a 5-minute walk away. We know the barman by name. We know we like the music. We can always get a table. What's so wrong with that?" Well, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just sometimes you want to go somewhere where you don't know the barman's name and you don't know you like the music. Sometimes you want somewhere new and fresh, exciting. Anyway, I eventually convinced Polly from work to go out with me on Friday night. I told Charlie we were at the pictures. I bought this new dress especially for it. It was black, fitted tightly, and had this hem which stopped just above the knee. It made me feel like Marilyn Monroe. And let's be honest, who doesn't want to feel like Marilyn Monroe? So we arrived at 9 p.m. at this bar in Mayfair, the Berrington. And me and Polly ordered our drinks. As we were properly out, we decided to get martinis in one of those lovely long-stemmed glasses. We were chatting at the bar when I noticed my reflection in the mirror at the end of the room. I looked like a completely different person. Glamorous, sexy, sophisticated. I hadn't seen myself like that for some time. I wondered what I might look like to a stranger, like this sexy woman, like the sexy woman character in a film. The thought of it was so thrilling to me. I felt like I'd had 5 cocktails, not just one, I can tell you. And just as I was imagining what it might be like to have a stranger's eyes on me, then all of a sudden, it was happening for real. There was this man at the other end of the bar, and he was staring at me. No, he was doing more than staring. He was taking me in. He was looking at every inch of my body, and I could feel his eyes on me like an X-ray. As his eyes moved over my body, he noticed that I'd caught him looking, and I expected him to look away, embarrassed. But he didn't. He held my gaze with absolute confidence and gave me this look. I hadn't seen that look in a while. There's something primal about it. It's a need to touch your body. That's what the look was. It was pure. Oh, you know that look. It's not complicated by anything else. I expected him to walk over straight away, but he didn't. He stayed where he was, talking to his friend, and every so often, he would look over at me. Just look. I was pretending to be having fun with Polly, but I just couldn't stop thinking about him. There was this anticipation. And now that I'm explaining all this to you now, I'm realising that I hadn't felt that in a long time. It's the combination of this urge and not knowing if you'll get to fulfill the urge, and it just goes up and up until you're bubbling over. And at about midnight, just as I was thinking, he would have come by now if he was going to come. And then he did. He walked right over to me, took his time over it too. The look in his eyes as he walked over to me, my heart was pounding so hard I could hear it above the music, and it was screaming, "This is it! This is it!" It was. And he didn't say a word. He just slipped this piece of paper over to me, folded over. Then he did it again, looked at me and took me in. Then he walked away, slowly again. My hands were shaking as I unfolded the piece of paper, and it said, "The Mayfair, room 365, knock twice." Oh, and I know what you're thinking right now, but I don't want you judging me. The way it made me feel. I felt chosen. I felt seen. I felt wanted. Can you really blame me for choosing to follow that? After all, that's what we're meant to look for in a man, isn't it? Someone who makes your heart flutter and your stomach churn and your skin break out in tiny beads of sweat. All I know is this feeling was too powerful to ignore. So I made my excuses to Polly and I left. I followed my heart. I followed my heart literally to the Mayfair, up the stairs to room 365. And with my hand shaking, I knocked on the door and he opened it. He said nothing again. He had an ice bucket with a bottle of champagne. He took the bottle, poured me a glass, and gave it to me. And I imagined what we must look like. Me in my dress, him in his suit, us in that grand hotel room with our champagne. And it looked like something from a film. And all of a sudden, I wasn't the woman sat at home in her dressing gown watching the films. I was the woman in the film. I was something special. We arranged to meet the following week, and the week after that, and the week after that, until it had been a few months, and my life was becoming this sharper and sharper contrast. It was like I'd been down a coal pit, but now I was basking in beautiful sunlight. I couldn't go on like that. It wasn't fair on Charlie, and it wasn't fair on me. I told him we'd grown apart. I'd changed and he hadn't, or he'd changed and I hadn't, but something had changed, and it just wasn't the same anymore. I needed excitement in my life, and I wasn't content with just sitting down the Crown anymore, watching Charlie play darts. So I moved out of Charlie's place and into my new fella's place. And it was absolutely the right decision. I'm so happy. Honestly, I am. Only things have changed a bit since I moved in. We don't really get to go out as much now. He's so busy with his work. And when I ask him why he can't come home before 9 p.m, he says, "For fuck's sake, we can't all be swanning around as secretaries. Some of us have to earn proper money." Sometimes we go out with his friends and I'll be telling a funny story and he'll interrupt me and he'll say, "What are you dropping your H's for? We're not in Oliver Twist." That's just the way I talk. The sex has changed too. Back in the hotel room, he used to look me in the eyes and I'd feel like the most beautiful woman on earth. Now, he only seems to like it if I'm turned around facing the bed. Once we were doing it and must have gone in at a funny angle or something, I don't know, but the pain down there was like a bolt of lightning and I cried out in pain like an alarm, and I expected him to stop, but he didn't. He kept going. But he must have heard me though. How could he not? But I thought if he heard the scream and he knew I was in pain and he didn't stop to check if I was all right, then he must have known I was in pain and he just kept going and he didn't stop. And a scream means pain and pain means stop, and he knew I was in pain and that pain means stop, but he didn't stop. So does that mean does that mean he's doing that to me? He was still thrusting inside me and I was still in so much pain. And I suddenly thought, if women can bear the pain of childbirth, then I can bear this pain. After all, it's much smaller than a baby, isn't it? And I did bear it. And when it was over, I lay there thinking about what had just happened. And I couldn't understand how the man who had slipped me his number in the bar was also the man who did that. The man who made me feel that way couldn't be the man who made me feel this way. And if he could, and it's almost like the man in the bar didn't exist. I couldn't have that. So I just bore it. The thing about Charlie is he might have been boring and he might have been stuck in a routine and he might eat the same cheese and salad cream sandwiches every day, but he was always nice to me, kind. gentle. I sometimes look back at the past, at those Friday nights in the Crown with Charlie, and I think they were pretty perfect, actually. He's moved on now. He's got a new girlfriend. So I'm going to stop moaning and appreciate what I've got. It's lovely. Like in the films, it is.